Oleg is a symbol of exceptional courage, of a free man and a free citizen, who stands in defense of democratic ideals and of freedom, first in Maidan and then in Crimea, his homeland, and who continues his fight even in jail, as we've been told by Natalia. And he is fighting not just for himself, he is fighting on behalf of all Ukrainian political prisoners, currently jailed by Putin's regime in very hostile environment. Just as in post-Stalin times, price for receiving Sakharov Award today appears to be 20 years in jail in Siberia, north. I am more than sure that this kind of symbolism was added to the case of Oleg Sentsov in Kremlin, with a very clear and very cynical message behind. Ladies and gentlemen, Oleg Sentsov is a symbol of courageous and self-sacrificing fight against 21st century aggression and chauvinism.
Yesterday, we commemorated the 70th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, a document which has had a tremendous positive impact on lives of many around the world. However, the celebration has been more thought-provoking than I would have wished for, and this is reflected in the conclusions of this report on human rights and democracy in the world in 2017. It is only to regret that the last years, including 2017, were marked by a dramatic increase in human rights violations, democracy crises and conflicts all over the world, affecting the most vulnerable of our societies. The prosecution of Rohingya in Myanmar, the crackdown of opposition in Cambodia, Venezuela or Nicaragua, the rule of law disarray in Congo, war crimes in Syria and Yemen, drastically shrinking civil society space in our direct neighbourhood, Russia. These are numerous other examples stand before my eyes as a painful reminder of the negligence of human rights principles. In parallel, we have also seen the growing number of populist and nationalist forces, even among the EU member states, resigning to such means as using disinformation and restricting laws to consolidate their power. These are all the worrying trends which have been taken into account and documented in the report and its country annexes. The aim of this document is to provide a critical analysis of the EU's actions and provide answers to the questions on what can be more done from the EU side and how can we advance our human rights action response to make it more effective, preemptive and focalised. Therefore, despite being concerned, I am also optimistic because during the preparatory work of this report we have found a strong agreement throughout the entire political spectrum in this House on our main priorities in the human rights field. There was a firm understanding and agreement that the EU is and shall remain the leader on human rights fight in the world and the UN system. I believe that the EU's global role in leadership also implies coordination and guidance in finding a common position among Western community counterparts which would place human rights in the heart of its foreign policy. By this, I also refer to a rather disappointing stance by our current US leadership in this regard. For the EU to be more effective, it is crucial that the human rights clauses are mainstream to all our external policies and agreements, including trade policy. Deepening political and economic ties with EU partner countries is our fundamental objective, but for this goal to be achieved, we should aim to make a better use of the human rights conditionality. I am convinced that in such cases, when partner countries persistently fail to observe the principles of democracy, rule of law and respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms, there is a point of time when we have to face certain sanctions from the EU side. On the other hand, those who respect their commitments to these principles should receive adequate privileges for being EU partners. I strongly call on the EU member states to uphold this commitment in their bilateral agreements too. As far as other priorities are concerned, with this report we emphasise the importance of strengthening support to human rights defenders in our neighbourhood and third countries. Our support to their tireless and courageous endeavours is the only way to go forward. Thank you. Congratulations to Michael Gahler for his very comprehensive report on Ukraine's progress. Today, we can be proud that the EU's extended hand to the people of Ukraine in response to Maidan revolution of dignity to enter into the European association dialogue is already marked with success and major changes in the country's life. What inspires me most is that the transformation of the European Ukrainian nation has reached a point of no return. I am convinced about this. Namely, this makes me to believe that the remaining internal challenges, such as de-oligarchization, fight against corruption and judicial reform, will yield the results that we all expect. Colleagues, Moscow continues its aggression and provocations, as by annexation of the Kerch Strait just recently. Let's acknowledge this. The success of European Ukraine is seen by the Kremlin as a direct danger, and this is completely wrong. Putin is a violator of international law in this regard.